I was double-checking serial numbers on a Thursday morning shipment when my phone buzzed with 3 words that changed everything. Town hall mandatory. No agenda, no context, just a calendar bomb dropped straight from HR at 1 o'clock p.m. sharp. And when HR throws a surprise party, you're never the one getting cake. Name's Jack Morrison, 48 years old. I've been keeping America's weapons out of the wrong hands for the past 29 years, 18 in the Air Force, 11 as a civilian contractor. That morning at Patriot Systems Corp in Colorado Springs, I'd already signed off on a batch of encrypted targeting modules headed to a NATO ally. Standard procedure for someone with my clearance level. Log the serials, verify the ITR codes, file the Federal Export Manifest. Boring to most folks, life or death to Uncle Sam. I wasn't the flashy guy in the corner office or the one schmoozing clients at Denver steakhouses. But if you asked who kept this whole operation legally bulletproof, that was me. I was the invisible guardian, the compliance firewall, the guy who made sure our night vision scopes didn't end up painted with the wrong flag in some third world desert. My military service started right out of high school. Signed up at 18, spent 18 years in Air Force logistics and compliance, mostly dealing with sensitive equipment transfers between bases and allied forces. Learned early that paperwork saves lives. One wrong signature, one missing form, and good guys die while bad guys get weapons they shouldn't have. That lesson stuck with me when I transitioned to civilian work at 36, bringing those same standards to the private sector. Still had bills though. Kids' tuition at Colorado State, alimony to my ex-wife, and once a month I taught electronics repair to veterans dealing with PTSD. Totally legal, totally above board, fully disclosed to legal 6 months ago. I wasn't moonlighting for Lockheed Martin. I was helping guys who served their country learn to fix broken things instead of breaking themselves. The irony? My whole job was keeping other people out of federal prison, and that's exactly what they risked the moment they fired me. That morning, I was sipping coffee that could strip paint, checking my inbox full of federal acronyms, DDTC, ITR, EAR. The shipment roster was clean, all documents uploaded to the portal, another batch scheduled for later that day. I felt that quiet confidence that comes from knowing you're not gunning for a promotion, not playing office politics, just doing the job right. One job, keep us legal. And I'd done it better than anyone in that building understood for 11 straight years. The veteran teaching program had become important to me over the past 2 years. Started when I met Tommy Rodriguez at a VA support group. Kid lost his legs in Afghanistan, came home angry and broken. His wife was ready to leave, his kids were scared of him, and he was drinking himself toward an early grave. I taught him how to rebuild old radios, gave his hands something to do while his mind processed the war. 6 months later, he was running his own repair business out of his garage, marriage back on track, kids proud of their dad again. Word spread through the veteran network. Soon I had a dozen guys showing up every Saturday at the community center, learning to fix everything from smartphones to ham radios. Unpaid volunteer work, but it gave these men purpose. The VA even started referring people to our program. I called it Fixing Forward. Corny name, but it worked. Most folks at Patriot didn't even know what ITR stood for. International Traffic in Arms Regulations, the federal law that controls export of defense-related articles and services. They just knew Uncle Jack had to bless their outgoing hardware like a chaplain with security clearance. My desk sat between procurement and records management, an accidental metaphor for what I actually did. Connect past paperwork to future shipments without triggering a federal investigation. The new HR director, Bradley Richardson, had started 3 months ago. MBA from Wharton, liked buzzwords, hated military culture. I'd pegged him from day one as someone who measured success in PowerPoints and synergy meetings, not results. He once told me compliance should be about dynamic storytelling. I told him compliance should be about not getting the company raided by federal agents. He laughed like I was making a joke. Richardson represented everything wrong with corporate America's attitude toward veterans. He saw military experience as outdated thinking, rigid mindset, resistance to innovation. During my first meeting with him, he suggested I modernize my approach to stakeholder engagement. I suggested he learn what ITAR violations could do to shareholder value. We didn't get along. He wasn't used to people like me. Guys who weren't climbing the ladder, just trying to keep the whole structure from collapsing. He thought authority came from titles and Slack visibility. Had no clue it lived in obscure federal forms with names like DSP-5 and 123.16, locked in classified folders with timestamps that could make or break a defense contractor. The compliance work itself was technical but straightforward if you understood the system. Every piece of military equipment has classification levels. Every destination country has approval requirements. Every shipment needs documentation trails that federal auditors can follow years later. Miss one step, file one form wrong, ship to one restricted location, and you're looking at million-dollar fines and potential criminal charges. That's why companies like Patriot hired guys like me. We understood the stakes, knew the regulations, had the security clearances to handle classified information. It wasn't glamorous work, but it was essential, like being the quiet guy who checks the bridge supports while everyone else admires the architecture. That week had been routine until Thursday. Tuesday, I'd signed off on thermal imaging, scopes for the Marines. Wednesday was a minor licensing glitch with a Canadian subcontractor, paperwork issue, not a real problem. Thursday morning, shipments clear, paperwork filed. I was actually ahead of schedule when that town hall notice landed like a digital hand grenade in my inbox. 1:00 p.m. Sharp. We're all logged into Zoom like school kids waiting for the principal. Cameras on, mics muted. Richardson appears with the CTO and some lawyer who looked like he'd already aged 10 years that morning. "Good afternoon," he starts with that fake enthusiasm that always sounds like a commercial. Before we discuss Q3 metrics, I want to talk about values: loyalty, alignment, integrity. Every buzzword that usually precedes an execution. I knew right then I was done, not because of guilt or fear, but because I recognized the corporate theater. The lawyer's nervous fidgeting, the CTO avoiding eye contact, Richardson's rehearsed delivery. This wasn't about company values. This was about ego and control. Then he drops it. Effective immediately, Jack Morrison is no longer with Patriot Systems. We've discovered a conflict of interest stemming from external consulting activities. While technically legal, it's inconsistent with our company values and culture. We wish him well. Silence. 400 people on mute. A few jaws dropped on camera. Someone's dog barked in the background. My buddy Pete from logistics looked like he'd seen a ghost. Sarah from accounting covered her mouth with her hand. I'm staring at the screen like I'm watching a Netflix documentary that just revealed the killer at the 15-minute mark. They fired me on Zoom in front of the entire company for teaching disabled veterans how to fix radios. The rage hit first, hot and immediate. 29 years of service, 11 years keeping this place out of federal prison, and they humiliate me like some intern caught stealing office supplies. But the anger burned off quick, replaced by something colder: calculation, planning, military thinking. I didn't say a word, didn't argue about the 6-month-old legal approval I had in writing, didn't mention that my moonlighting was unpaid volunteer work helping guys who'd served their country, didn't point out that Richardson had never worn a uniform, never held security clearance, never understood what duty actually meant. Instead, I reached for my phone under the desk, opened Outlook, and found the draft I'd written during a compliance drill, but never thought I'd need. Every compliance officer has nightmare scenarios. What happens if you're suddenly removed? How do you protect yourself and follow federal requirements? Subject: loss of named responsible party notification. To Maria Santos, DDTC Compliance Officer. Body: per ITAR requirement section 127.1c, I am notifying you that Patriot Systems Corp. no longer has a federally registered responsible party on file. Effective immediately. Attach DDTC Form 3847 PDF. One tap, send, 15 seconds. That's all it took to expose the house of cards I'd been quietly holding up for 11 years. Maria Santos was former Air Force logistics, worked her way up through the federal compliance system. We'd partnered on dozens of audits, shared war stories about corporate executives who thought federal law was optional. She wouldn't panic. Military training runs deep. But I knew what was happening in her head the moment she got that email. Same training I had, same oath we'd both taken, same understanding of what federal export violations looked like, what happened to defense contractors who lost their compliance framework, what it meant to have no named responsible party on file. It meant every shipment processed after 1:07 p.m. was now illegal under federal law. Every screw, every chip, every encrypted component moving across a border without my authorization was a $1.4 million mistake per violation. And it meant Richardson had just nuked the company's entire export license because he didn't like my weekend hobby. I left the Zoom call without ceremony. No goodbyes, no speeches, no dramatic finger-pointing. Just clicked leave meeting and closed the laptop. When you've just pulled the emergency brake on a defense contractor's federal authorization, you don't stick around for small talk. The walk to my truck felt surreal. 11 years of routine, same parking spot, same path through the lobby, same nod to security. Now it was over because some MBA decided military veterans were bad for corporate culture. The irony was beautiful. Richardson thought he was cleaning house. What he'd actually done was remove the only thing keeping the house from burning down. My phone was already buzzing. Text from Pete. "Dude, what just happened?" Another from Sarah. "This is insane, we're all shocked." Third one from Danny in shipping. "They can't do this to you," but they could, and they had. At-will employment means you can be fired for any reason or no reason as long as it's not specifically illegal. Terminating someone for volunteer work wasn't illegal. Stupid, but not illegal. The parking lot was busy with the lunch crowd, sun reflecting off windshields, people heading to grab sandwiches, normal Thursday afternoon in corporate America. But nothing was normal anymore. I sat in my truck, hands on the wheel, engine off, staring through the windshield. Not angry now, not hurt, focused, strategic, like planning a mission. Back in my Air Force days, we had a saying, proper planning prevents poor performance. The 5 Ps. Richardson had just demonstrated the opposite. Zero planning, catastrophic performance. He'd fired the one person who understood the regulatory framework that kept Patriot legally operational. Replacing a named responsible party isn't like hiring a new project manager or updating a password. It's a federally overseen process involving background investigations, security clearance reviews, and multiple agency approvals. Takes weeks, sometimes months. Until then, you're frozen, which meant every shipment they'd pushed out that morning was about to become radioactive. My phone buzzed. Maria, responding to my notification. She didn't need to write much, just received. Initiating emergency protocols. Military speak for, holy hell, they're about to get hammered. Under federal law, when the only named responsible party is removed, voluntarily or otherwise, a company must immediately notify the Directorate of Defense Trade Controls. During that notification period, until a replacement is vetted, cleared, and approved, that company has zero legal authority to export anything more dangerous than a paperclip. Maria was probably already on the phone with Patriot's legal department, and legal was about to have the worst day in company history. I could picture it, some junior lawyer picking up, hearing Maria's calm voice. "We have a problem. Jack Morrison just declared himself removed as named responsible party." "Wait, what?" "But we don't have a replacement yet." "Exactly, and he was terminated at 1:07 p.m. Everything shipped after that timestamp is non-compliant under ITAR." Silence. Then, "How many shipments?" "Checking the logs now. Looks like at least 6 went out this afternoon." That's when the real panic would start. Meanwhile, I drove home with the windows down, mountain air clearing my head. I wasn't angry anymore. I was sharp, controlled, focused. They thought I'd disappear quietly into the unemployment line, but federal compliance structures don't vanish, and neither do the people who built them. It took them 3 hours to figure out what I'd known the second I hit send. Around 4:00 p.m., the leadership team locked themselves in conference room B. Through the frosted glass, I could picture the shadows. Maria pacing, legal team huddled, outside counsel. They only called for SEC problems, operations looking confused, and Richardson finally realizing the stove was hot. Maria would have started with basics. Without a named responsible party, every export processed post-termination is non-compliant under ITAR. That means they're not just at risk, they're illegal. She'd say it calm and measured because Maria doesn't panic, but everyone else in that room sure did. They'd already cleared 6 shipments that morning after my termination, 2 to NATO contractors, 1 to a Japanese subcontractor, and 3 particularly sensitive crates of encrypted RF boards heading to classified locations, all legal when processed because I was still authorized. But the minute they severed me without a replacement, game over. $1.4 million fine per violation, base rate. If the feds decided to make an example, which they love doing when defense contractors mishandle export licenses, those fines stack faster than compound interest. By Friday morning, word was spreading through the defense contractor network. These companies all know each other, share the same compliance officers, bid on the same contracts. When one has problems, everyone hears about it. The first real damage came Monday from Redstone Aerospace, a mid-tier firm we'd supplied for 8 years. Their compliance officer sent what looked like a routine request. As part of our quarterly audit, please provide updated export license documentation for Q4. We're reconciling vendor records for compliance alignment. Standard quarterly review happens like clockwork. Before, it was simple. I'd bundle the ITR confirmations, renewal records, responsible party designation, and signature logs. One click, compliance cleared. This time, there was no one to click. No named party, no legal authorization. Legal stalled with vague replies about pending systems updates and promised documents in process. Corporate speak for we're in deep trouble but can't admit it yet. These clients aren't stupid. They have compliance officers too, former military guys who live and breathe federal clearance requirements. They smell problems from orbit. By Tuesday noon, Alpine Defense Systems pinged with a less polite request. We need full export compliance documentation by KOB, or we're placing payments on hold pending resolution. Payments on hold. 4 words that make defense executives sweat through expensive suits. Not canceling contracts, not filing lawsuits, just pausing money flow. But in government contracting, cash flow interruption is death by financial strangulation. The VP of sales, who once told me my signature was just paperwork, found himself chasing paperwork like a drowning man reaching for a life preserver. But he couldn't reach anything. I'd been the authorization key, and I was gone. Richardson tried spinning damage control in the Tuesday executive meeting. We've got strong candidates in the pipeline. Interviews are progressing well. This is a temporary administrative adjustment. What he didn't mention was that none of his candidates had active federal clearance. You don't just apply for named responsible party status like joining a fitness club. There's extensive vetting, FBI background investigation, financial review, security clearance verification, personal interviews. The process takes 6 to 12 weeks minimum, longer if there are red flags. And there are always red flags. Meanwhile, Maria was documenting everything, every delayed response, every missed deadline, every excuse legal fed to worried clients. I knew her well enough to picture the spreadsheet she was building, timestamps, violation codes, penalty calculations. When the federal audit came, and it would come, she'd have a perfect paper trail. Wednesday brought the call I'd been expecting. Washington, D.C. area code, caller ID blocked. I let it ring twice before answering. Jack Morrison. Mr. Morrison, this is Colonel Patricia Hayes, retired, from Titan Defense Group. You probably know us. Titan. Yeah, I knew them. Patriot's biggest competitor in aerospace defense systems. Word in the industry was they'd been trying to recruit experienced compliance officers for months. Now they knew why. Colonel Hayes, I'll cut to the chase. We understand you're no longer with Patriot Systems. I'd like to discuss bringing you on as our named responsible party. Just like that. No dance, no small talk. They knew exactly what had happened, probably had alerts set for every ITAR registry change in the database. Maybe even had someone feeding them intelligence from inside Patriot. Full relocation package to Huntsville, Alabama, signing bonus that'll cover your kid's tuition and will expedite the registration transfer. Our compliance portfolio is clean and ready. Been waiting for someone with your credentials and clearance level. Huntsville, Rocket City, heart of America's defense industrial base. Marshall Space Flight Center, Redstone Arsenal, more defense contractors per square mile than anywhere outside the D.C. Beltway. And Titan had been building market share there for 5 years. I didn't say yes immediately, told her I'd consider it, asked for 48 hours to review their offer. But we both knew I was interested. After 11 years at Patriot, after building their compliance program from scratch, after keeping them out of federal prison while they treated me like disposable office furniture, why wouldn't I be interested in a fresh start? That evening, I got an email from Tommy Rodriguez, the veteran I'd been helping with electronics repair. Subject line, heard what happened. Jack, Words going around the VA that Patriot fired you for helping us. Don't know all the details, but wanted you to know the guys are talking. What they did to you isn't right. You gave us hope when we had none. Military brotherhood doesn't forget that kind of loyalty. If there's anything we can do, just ask. Semper Fi, Tommy, brotherhood, loyalty, honor. Words that meant something to people who'd served, who'd bled for something bigger than quarterly profits. Richardson wouldn't understand that. To him, loyalty was agreeing with management decisions and showing up to optional company events. But loyalty runs both ways. And Patriot had just learned what happens when you break faith with the wrong person. Friday morning, I accepted Titan's offer. The paperwork was already drawn up, relocation package included, registration transfer initiated. Colonel Hayes had been planning this move for months, just waiting for the right moment. Patriot's public humiliation of their compliance officer was exactly the opening she needed. The federal audit notice didn't arrive with sirens. It landed in Patriot's inbox the following Tuesday like a polite dagger wrapped in bureaucratic velvet. Subject, Notice of Compliance Review, Export Activity Q4 from the Directorate of Defense Trade Controls. 2 weeks after my termination, 18 shipments had gone out without proper authorization. Maria's meticulous documentation showed exactly when each violation occurred, each unauthorized export, each moment Patriot operated outside federal law. The DDTC doesn't make house calls unless they're already building a case. I wasn't there for the audit meeting, but Maria filled me in later. We'd stayed in touch. Professional courtesy between compliance officers, she said. Really, she wanted someone who'd appreciate the beautiful disaster unfolding at Patriot. The federal rep didn't raise his voice during the meeting. His badge spoke louder than any PowerPoint, toned clinical, like a surgeon about to operate without anesthesia. Let's be clear, he said, sliding a single sheet across the conference table. Every unit exported following removal of your named responsible party violates 22 CFR Section 127.1. You had no legal authority. You did it anyway. 18 shipments. Total estimated liability, $25.2 million pending further review. Dead silence. The kind that makes grown executives stop breathing. Someone from legal tried arguing, but those shipments were processed according to established protocols. The rep didn't blink. Protocols established by Morrison, who was no longer authorized to establish anything after 1:07 p.m. on the date in question. Next question? Then came the moment I'd been waiting for. Who approved Morrison's termination? Every head turned like choreographed ballet, all eyes on Richardson at the far end of the table. He looked smaller than usual, less polished. The conference room lighting washed him out like a ghost in an expensive suit. His mouth opened, maybe to blame someone else, maybe to pretend it had been a collective decision. But legal cut him off before he could speak. We'll handle this internally, the general counsel said quickly. Translation: stop talking before we both drown. That was it. No fireworks, no shouting. Just one question and the slow, irreversible collapse of corporate arrogance. The contract started walking within days. Alpine Defense Systems pulled their $180 million deal first, citing compliance uncertainties. Redstone Aerospace followed 48 hours later. When defense contractors start jumping ship, word spreads fast through the industry. Nobody wants to be associated with a company under federal investigation. 3 weeks after the audit, Richardson was gone, pursuing new opportunities according to the company announcement. Corporate speak for, "We threw him under the bus to appease the feds." His LinkedIn profile now listed him as an independent consultant specializing in organizational transformation. Good luck with that. By month's end, I was sitting in Titan's Huntsville offices, badge clipped to my shirt, federal credentials active, watching our latest shipment get final clearance. Thermal optics for Allied forces overseas. All paperwork clean, all signatures valid, all federal requirements met. The irony was perfect. Patriot's biggest contract, a $275 million aerospace defense deal they'd been courting for 18 months, got transferred to Titan the day my registration went active. The client didn't even ask questions. With Patriot under federal investigation and bleeding credibility, they just moved the business to a company with stable compliance, infrastructure. My first week at Titan, I implemented new protocols based on lessons learned at Patriot. Backup signatories, succession planning, cross-training. No single point of failure. Colonel Hayes gave me free rein to build the compliance program right. Military precision, she called it, something those corporate types never understood. 6 months later, I got word through the veteran network about Tommy Rodriguez. He'd expanded his repair business, hired 2 other disabled vets, and was getting referrals from the VA faster than he could handle them. The program we'd started was still running at the community center, now with 3 volunteer instructors. Military brotherhood taking care of its own. The final settlement hit the news a year later. Patriot paid $19.7 million in federal fines, negotiated down from the original $25.2 million assessment. The company survived, barely, after selling off 2 divisions and laying off 40% of their workforce. Richardson's cost-cutting initiative had worked out perfectly. They hired a new compliance officer eventually. Former Navy guy, good reputation, solid credentials. Word was he asked a lot of questions about why the position was open before accepting. Smart man. I never took revenge, didn't need to, just stopped holding up what they'd built and let gravity do the rest. Federal law doesn't care about corporate politics or HR initiatives. It cares about following procedures, respecting the process, understanding that some signatures carry real weight. They thought they could fire the foundation and keep the building standing. Learned the hard way that when you remove the wrong person, the whole structure comes down. 3 years later, I'm still at Titan. Got promoted to Director of Compliance, overseeing a team of 6 officers across multiple programs. My son graduated Colorado State debt-free thanks to the signing bonus. The ex-wife stopped complaining about alimony when she realized I was making twice what Patriot ever paid me. Richardson? Last I heard, he was working for a consulting firm in Phoenix, helping companies optimize human capital allocation. Corporate speak for teaching other people how not to make his mistake. The veteran repair program is still running strong. Tommy Rodriguez now teaches other vets how to start their own businesses. The circle keeps growing. Guys helping guys. Brothers taking care of brothers. That's what loyalty actually looks like. Sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. Sometimes it's just stepping aside and letting people face the natural consequences of their choices. Sometimes justice serves itself. Big thanks for staying with this story. If it hit home, hit that subscribe button. Keeps the coffee brewing and the truth coming. Your corporate overlords won't know what hit them.